Welcome back to Mind Over Matter. I'm Louis Marriott. Today's conversation is about how turning pain into purpose can help you heal from the trauma. Research shows that expressive writing can help reduce anxiety and process trauma faster. Our guest today, Lauren, knows this very well. After facing years of childhood trauma, addiction and loss, she began to write. The result was her book, Breaking Silence, an honest account of pain, resilience and recovery. Lauren, thank you so much. When did you realise writing could be part of therapy?
It was after I'd had my daughter, my first daughter, and I was in a really tough relationship. I was just existing in the relationship. I was going through a miscarriage. I was a new mum. And my life was just hectic. I was supporting my friend through a custody battle. And there was so many things in my mind that I had to get down on paper, but at the same time, I couldn't feel anything at all. So I just started writing. My book, and I couldn't complete it straight away. It took me a while to get through. It took me 5 years to complete.
So this is the book that you wrote?
Yeah.
When you say you went through a miscarriage, I mean, something like that, it's not just a mental situation. I mean, the physical trauma of your body, going through all the other episodes. Did you have someone that was your almost like your lifeline? Was there someone who you could turn to, your family, your friends, someone that you could really portray your heart out and say, this is really what's happening to me at the moment?
Well, my friend who I was supporting through the custody battle, it used to be her. But it couldn't be her around this time because she was going through so much herself. So the only person I could really rely on was myself to get myself through it.
So it's quite an isolating experience.
It was, absolutely, absolutely. My dad was very supportive, but we had periods of speaking and then not speaking. My dad was like my rock. And during the periods of not speaking, I just had myself, and that was a lot. There was a lot of times where it was just me.
So did writing ever bring up emotions you thought you'd already processed?
Absolutely. So I started a journey with plant medicine, ayahuasca. I started it in Colombia, it's legal there. And I noticed there was a certain point of my life that the plant medicine spirits were trying to take me back to. And there was a vision of me in a dark room on my bed. I was just lying in the fetal position, but I wasn't strong enough to go there. And she was trying to bring it up during plant medicine ceremonies. I didn't do the work. I just wasn't ready to face it. But afterwards, when I came out of ceremony, I got back home, I started doing journaling. So I put myself into a meditative state and I started journaling. Now, when I was journaling, something came up to me that I didn't realise was there. It was something that was stuck in my subconscious mind.
Can I stop you there?
Yeah.
Journaling, what does that mean?
So journaling is just basically write. So you just get a book and you put yourself into a meditative state and just write whatever comes up. You don't need to think about it, you just write.
I love that.
Write.
I love that.
Yeah. So she was trying to take me back there and I started the journaling. And basically what she was trying to show me during ceremony was when I was 7, I was being molested while I was sleeping and I wasn't aware that I was being molested. When I was 8, it happened when I was awake by the same person. But when I used to change my daughter's nappy, she was about 2 years old, so I'd change a nappy in the evening. And it had unsettled me that she wasn't aware of what I was doing. And I really got stressed out about it. I had to really put myself into a certain state of mind to be able to do, because it was making me nervous. Couldn't understand.
Were you feeling that the child wasn't reacting with you?
Yeah, it was like she was resting.
But the child was quite young, right?
Yeah,
but
she
you
was
were a first-time
young.
mother, so you probably didn't get that. Probably a child isn't at that interacting stage yet. Interesting.
But it was when she was sleeping and I was changing a nappy, she didn't have a clue of what I was doing. And it caused me anxiety. And it was when I started journaling after that ceremony that I realised I was being molested while I slept. And I wasn't realising that it was happening. There was one time when I woke up and it was happening. It didn't happen again in my childhood home, and my subconscious pushed it right down, blocked it out. Then when I was 8, it happened again by the same person, but I'd forgotten about the times when I was resting, because the subconscious mind knew, I didn't. So I'd forgotten about it, so I ended up staying in my childhood abuser's home, which was my mum's ex-partner, and he abused me while I was awake.
You've made my hairs go up. You've had a really full-on, powerful life here. I mean, the whole book, writing a book, I can see where you're coming from, and I can see that is such a therapeutic aspect to be doing in your life. And I'm really glad it has, because, there's not many people that can share this type of story. And it's a very personal story, and I'm so honoured that you're sharing with myself and our audience, but that is quite full-on. So how did you have the courage to be so open?
Well, I've been through so much in my life. There's been sexual abuse as a child, then I was in an abusive relationship as an adult that was sexually, physically and mentally abusive. I'm a recovering alcoholic. I've been addicted to drugs. There was one point in my life I couldn't go to sleep without a drink. About six years sober now, something like that.
Congratulations.
But the final thing for me was I was diagnosed with HIV. And I thought my chances of having children were over. It felt like the end of my life. And the funny thing is, though, me being diagnosed with HIV has saved my life, because that was the last time I was suicidal. But I realised that I had to accept my status myself before anybody else could accept it in me. And I went through lessons of about 2 years worth of lessons to do with this acceptance. I couldn't accept myself for what I had. I thought I was dirty. I thought I was really uncomfortable with it. The last time I was suicidal, I was stone cold sober when I did it. And it's quite heavy, but I got a message from Spirit basically while I was trying to take my own life. And it was Spirit showing me what would happen to my family if I'd have taken my own life there and then. And Spirit was basically showing me, you've got so much more to live for. You're going to have children. You just need to hang on a little bit longer, get through this lesson, and you'll be fine. So I realised I had to have acceptance in my own heart, myself, before anybody else could accept me. And that's what gave me the courage to speak out.
And it's a very powerful story you're telling me. With the HIV as well, we're quite lucky in England, there's some great medication out there. So, before it was always tabooed. I know in myself, in the gay scene in the community, it was always labelled as like a taboo subject, and it was also like a death sentence, I guess. But thankfully, there's amazing progress in medications these days, so people can, take medications and they can live a normal, healthy life, which is fantastic, and which I wish you a very healthy life with your children. It's such a blessing to have had a child, such a blessing that you haven't taken your life. Thank you for not doing that. I think those are the type of catalysts sometimes in life which we need to realise, do you know what? There's a beautiful world out there, it's quite a full-on experience that you've had to push you to that edge, but I hope now that you can flourish.
Absolutely.
You mentioned you do spiritual work within your community. Can you elaborate more on what it is that you do?
Yeah, so I do tarot cards. I'm not really called to do it that much, but I do it. I've got my spirit guides, I'm always talking to them. I go more towards the healing side of things. So after I'd gone through my journey, I'd had my kids, I'd done a lot of my healing and things like that. I was attuned to something called Humana and another thing called Pellower. So these are new healing modalities to the UK. So Humana, throughout the body we've got chakra systems, and on the outside of the body we've got meridians. So Humana opens up the meridians outside the body and therefore opens up the chakra systems as well. Pellower, it dramatically alters consciousness. I can compare Pellower and Humana to my experiences with plant medicine, but without taking the plant medicine, the ayahuasca. It's just a massive transformation, the healings that I do. And there was one person that I did a humanic healing on, and he was suffering with alcoholism. He was sober for about 3 months after that. It's very, very powerful.
And what I find very interesting about your journey is you've already started talking to me about some very alternative forms of healing that I'd never heard of. I mean, you were out in South America. I mean, that was a very strong form of healing, isn't it? I mean, going through, I can never pronounce it, ayahuasca.
Ayahuasca.
Yes, that's very powerful. And now you're telling me about this. So these are all very new. I'm being educated here. And it's quite interesting how on earth you even came across all of that and to teach yourself, because there's a lot in it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then to learn it and then to give that advice to other people. I mean, where did you actually start learning that?
So the Humana Impella, that was in the UK. The plant medicine, because another healing modality was uploaded to me as well. The plant medicine spirits, ayahuasca, they assist me in doing this healing. So it's been a whole journey. It started with one thing, then it led on to something else, and it led on to something else. It's just been like a journey of me just picking.
You're like a sponge. You're taking all these wonderful things in, but to be honest, you're actually giving it back into the society and community, so good for you.
Thank you.
If you're struggling with addiction or trauma, you're not alone. Please reach out, Samaritans 116 123, free 24 hours, 7 days a week. Or NHS Mental Health Services, www.nhs.uk/mental-health support is available and recovery is possible. Lauren, thank you for sharing your truth and for showing how writing can become part of the healing process. And I think I've got some bedtime reading tonight. Thank you so much.
Welcome back to Mind Over Matter. I'm Denny Miller. And if you're joining us for the first time today, welcome to Mind Over Matter, the TV show that gives your mental health a voice. Today's conversation is one that many may find difficult, the reality of losing a loved one to suicide. According to the Office for National Statistics, suicide remains the leading cause of death for men under 50 in the UK. But every loss is more than a number. It's a family cut short. Our guest today, Andy, knows this pain only too well. He lost his son due to suicide, a tragedy that changed his life forever. Today he's here to share his story and to explain how he found the strength to go on again. Andy, thank you for being here. Where would you like to start on this story?
Basically from the beginning.
Okay.
My son, from a very young age, has been very, very sporting. He loved his sports, and I made a point from about the age of 8. I said to him, look, you're good at football, you're good at basketball, you're good at athletics. Make a decision if that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
You want to play this for the rest of your life, you've got to make a decision. When you get to the age of 12, we're going to make a decision. When he got to the age of 12, he said he wanted to play football. I said to him, right, okay. His basketball boots, in the bin. His athletic spikes, gone. Focus on that. He was very, very good. He had a trial for Norwich. He went to the academy. From the start of the actual development, they could see he was really good.
Yeah.
He played in a tournament for the development against under-17s at 13.
Oh, wow.
He scored a hat-trick against him. They beat him 5-2, and the manager for the under-17 was shocked. He was really, really very good. He spent his time then going to the academy at Norwich, where he worked his way up and played very, very well. To cut a long story short, the Norwich side of things wasn't the problem or the issue. That was very, very good. I kept him on the straight and narrow as to how much chance he has to make it. He had opportunities for Chelsea that were coming for him, but I said to him, under my advising, I mean, he didn't have to take it. I just advised him and said, well, I think you used to have more of a chance playing first team at Norwich than you would do at Chelsea, because it's a bigger club, etc. So he stayed. He did very well. He was on his third year pro, but before you sign your third year pro, they send you out to non-league just to check your temperament, see how you can handle it under pressure. So he got taken to the club. He went off to Billericay for his just a little interim period there. What happened there was his first few games, he played really, really well. His first game he scored a hat-trick, second game he scored a goal of the season contender. It was great and everything was looking good. But the thing with non-league is it's all budgets and money, and they cut the budget. So all the good players that he was playing with, that were ex-pros, they all had to leave. And he was left with guys that wasn't as good and couldn't play as well. And the way I taught my son to play football was to keep the ball on the floor, pass and move. When he then, from me to Norwich, they taught him, keep the ball on the floor, pass and move. He's now played non-league level and they're just kicking the ball over in the air. That was a problem for him. He didn't adapt to that well. Hence he didn't get his contract. Not a problem. The thing was that happened right at the start of COVID. So where he would have just bounced back to another team and then just gone and played, he didn't really get that chance because they wasn't really doing anything. His weight went up, ballooned, and he lost his interest. I managed to convince him after that, come on son, your life isn't over, football isn't finished just because you're not at Norwich. You've got other opportunities to do this. You can get back in and we go there. I got him back to his fitness level. He went from one non-league team to another and started to work his way up until he got to one Pacific team, which was Maidstone United. He played for them, which was fine. He was doing really well. He scored them a goal, which effectively got them to the second round of the FA Cup, in which they progressed on to move. What happened from there was he had a slight altercation with the management. It was basically what kids need to learn. You cannot be disrespectful to a manager in game scenario. If you have an issue with the manager, you speak to him off the pitch, in training. You can have discrepancies, you can't do that. Not a problem. I said to my son, this is where you're going to have to learn now. You're going to get reprimanded. You're going to get either a fine, you're going to get dropped to reserves, you're going to get it. But
this was going to
happen. It was going to happen, and I told him this. He said, yeah, fair enough, Dad. I'll apologise to him, and we see where we can go from there. That was all fine, but what happened there at that level is the managers use and abuse their powers. And and my son went from bright and sprightly to all of a sudden now starting to become an introvert, because behind closed doors the manager was in his face, getting into his head, and it's not something he was needed, because my son isn't one of those guys where you shout at him and you get a reaction. He was more of a, you put your hand over the shoulder and listen son, this is what you need to do, and you get more out of him. Do you know what I mean? And this is what's needed from man management skills in the non-league game. You need to be able to read and see what you can get out of the player and what's the best way for the player.
So just to interrupt you there, first and foremost, I'm so sorry for your loss. Very, very sorry for your loss. What would you say to another parent? How could you give that information to another parent that are going through episodes with their children? They haven't lost their children yet, but they're going through things, difficulties in life. What information could you give them for their loved ones?
What I would say to parents, first and foremost, don't try and live your life in your child's life. Their path is their path. All you can do is guide them to where they want to be and how you think it's best. Don't be afraid to seek advice, and don't try and control your child in what they're doing. They also need to learn mistakes. They need to know, but you are effectively a support mechanism for your child. So you need to be there when the things are good. You need to be there when the things are bad. Now, shouting at your child or giving him the what for if he's made a mistake in a few games or something, that is not the way to approach how it's going to be done.
How did that affect your mental health?
It affected me big time, because there's nothing worse than seeing your son going down a spiral, going down a rabbit hole, and you can see it and effectively helpless to do anything about it. I offered my son therapy. I tried to speak to my son. His mum tried to speak to him. We wanted to sit down and go wherever we needed to go to get the help for him, because we could see it happening.
Wow.
And I had the conversation with my son 2 weeks before he took his life. Son, I don't want any phone calls coming from a hospital. I don't want it coming from the police. I don't want to hear anything coming because something's happened to you. Oh, no, Dad, it's all right. It's okay, Dad, I'm all right, fine.
So why do you think men in particular struggle with their emotions and talking about anything where they can seek help?
When they're younger, they don't have the experience or knowledge to know that they need the help. The thing that you have when you're older is man, macho, I can deal with this, I can handle this. That's it. A lot of guys need to realise this is not a macho thing, this is not a I can take care of myself thing, this is a mental thing. It doesn't care how big you are. Do you know, it doesn't matter how much muscles you got, it doesn't care how you can do this or do that. If it's going to hit you, it's going to hit you. And you need to be prepared for it and how you're going to deal with it.
Yeah. So prior to this, we was talking, and it'd be interesting to find out what aspect of life have you put in place to honour your son's life?
Well, so now, where my life effectively stopped with my son and suicide, I was on that blank page. It was like, okay, what do I do now? Because everything I did for my son.
Yeah.
I made sure things were in place. If anything happened to me, my son was sorted, everything was there. And now my son's not there.
Yeah.
So it was with my actual housemate. We was having a conversation, and he was, hey Mark, and he said to me, what about a foundation? What about having something there that other kids and parents can come to and speak about and get help if they need it? Know that there's somewhere they can contact and say, well, listen, my son's going through that same sort of issues. What do I do?
Yeah.
So we've set up a foundation for my son, the Devonte Foundation.
The Devonte Foundation, okay.
Devonte Aaron Sibia Foundation.
Okay.
Which is in process now of getting up and running. We've got people there of psychological background, ex-pro footballers, got current pro footballers, got dads there also, because the best thing for the child is the parent to be aware and ahead of the situation before it happens. You don't want to be in the situation where you're playing catch up.
Where can we find you on social media if people want to know more information about you? Where can we find you?
If you go onto Devonte Aaron Sibia Instagram, you'll have it on there. Even if you just type in his name, Devonte Aaron Sibia, you'll see his name pop up on Instagram, Facebook, and then it will also guide you to his foundation and everything there where you can help and assist, and the struggles there. We're all going to go through it, and it's not going to be easy.
Andy, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you.
I know that it's not easy, and I commend you for your strength in honour of your son.
Thank you very much.
So thank you. Our next guest will be Danielle. She'll be coming and talking about finding success. Welcome back to Mind Over Matter. I'm Denny Miller, And for those that are joining us for the very first time, welcome to Mind Over Matter, the TV show that gives your mental health a voice. We often encourage ambitious goals and measure success by status, wealth, or achievement. But what happens when you reach those goals and still feel a void inside? Research suggests that, for example, that beyond certain income thresholds, increase in income have small return on happiness. Today's guest, Daniela, achieved much, so much, yet found that success alone wasn't fulfilling. In this conversation, she helps us explore how real fulfillment aligns with her growth. Daniela, thank you for joining us. Welcome.
Thank you, Denny.
Where would you like to start on your story today?
Fulfillment, I think that's all to do with purpose, isn't it? And I think a person's fulfillment, and it can change throughout their life.
Yeah.
So I think the time I felt the most unfulfilled was actually when I had my first child, and I started a job as a teacher in a school, and she was only 2 months old, so she was very young. And I remember working, missing her so much, and waiting for the holidays. So I stayed there far too long. In hindsight, I think I would have been better to just maybe go part-time or leave. So I've had times in my life where I have felt unfulfilled and I've just carried on. But I think life's too short to stay in a place if you do feel unfulfilled. But I think we have all these pressures in society, don't we? To pleasing people, or we need to earn enough money, or we're thinking about things that are external, outside ourselves sometimes.
So do you think then all success without fulfillment is failure?
Yes, I do. And I went to a network and I heard this amazing woman say that. So it didn't actually come from me, but I didn't know her name. So if you're watching, apologies. But I thought it was amazing what she said, because it did hit a nerve there. I think lots of people strive for success, and they think it's going to bring them happiness and fulfillment, and they keep going and they keep going and they keep going, and then they get to a certain age and think, I've wasted 20 years, 30 years, 40 years of my life doing something I didn't really want to do.
Okay. You mentioned previously about purpose.
Yes.
Where does that lead you?
I think purpose is based on your values, and I think that can also change throughout your life.
Yes.
So it's the most... To have a purpose, you need to think about your values that are the priority. So I know at the moment my values are peace and justice, and just being a good person, kindness, having a good life. And I think if you live in accordance with those values, then you will have fulfillment. And but it's very hard sometimes in this society, because you've got people telling you to do one thing when actually your heart is with something else and where you should be. And you may look crazy wanting to do something different, but it's important that you do follow your path. It's your vision. Yeah,
you spoke about those amazing values. So how does that link to your purpose?
They link directly, because they keep you on course to doing what you want to do. So, for example, I've got an amazing pageant that I started called Miss Britannia, and I've been offered certain things before regarding Miss Britannia, or to work with certain people. But if their behaviour is not in line with my values, then I have I've said no to those things, because it doesn't matter how long it takes. And as long as it's having an impact now, even if it's a small impact, that's what's important to me, and it's in line with my values and what I want it to be, which is empowering for women and children.
Lovely. So did your purpose of chasing success, if that's the right way to put it, how did that affect your mental health and relationships?
Yeah, I think I've put up with a lot that I shouldn't have put up with, looking back. Hindsight is a wonderful thing. So it's very hard to say, if I could go back. I mean, at the time, you do the best that you can do.
Absolutely.
But I think with relationships, I tolerated more than I should have for far too long. And in, like I said, some workplaces I've been in, I've tolerated treatment that I shouldn't have tolerated. But also that learning makes you more resilient and wiser and able to tackle it quicker as you get older.
So what does fulfilment look like for you now? Give me the vision.
Fulfilment is about keeping your life as simple as possible, and my mum has always advised that. I've never really taken her advice, but as I'm getting older I see that that has a lot of meaning to it. Don't overcomplicate your life, have peace, because there's many things that will drain your energy, including lots of social media. So now I do have a lot of social media breaks because there's so many distractions in life, and it's important to keep central to who you are and give yourself that time away from things like social media and that peace.
Yeah. So how can someone really and truly connect with the joy and purpose of themselves? How can that?
Sometimes it's very hard if we're in a situation to actually see the full picture, so it's important sometimes to step outside of the situation and yourself. Give yourself some time just to have a think. I spoke to Louis Mariette earlier and he was saying about writing down as well your goals, which I found very helpful. So it's about thinking, right, what are my values? And is everything in my life in line with those values? Because if they're not, I'm betraying myself. And so it's making sure that you're working in line with them. Because sometimes we feel an obligation, but then it's not in line with who we are. So that means you say no to those things.
Okay. So if you could leave a message for people about wanting to chase success without losing themselves, what would that be?
A bit of advice: don't let anybody tell you what you can and can't do. Stay true to yourself.
I like that, absolutely. Thank you so much. So if you're struggling with burnout, emptiness or loss of purpose, don't suffer alone. Mind UK, www.mind.org.uk, or you can call the Samaritans on 116 123. That's 116 123. So thank you, Daniela, for joining us today and reminding us of who we are deep inside. If we're going for success, it's an amazing story and such good advice. Thank you so much for that. This is Denny Miller. See you next time.
Welcome back to Mind Over Matter. I'm Louis Marriott. Anxiety is one of the most common mental health challenges of our modern world. Over 8 million people in the UK experience anxiety at least once in their life, and many still face it in silence. Our guest today is Ali Dugan, knows exactly what that feels like. Her journey through anxiety took her from fear to finding genuine inner peace. Ali, welcome to the show. Can you take us back to when you first realised your anxiety was beginning to take over your life?
Well, I could actually trace that back to myself as a teenager when I changed school. I went to a different school at the age of 16. I moved to a private school and I felt totally out of my depth. I'd gone from being at the top of the school to feeling stupid, feeling uncomfortable being around people who I thought were prettier than me, brighter than me, just anything better than me. And I moved away from my friends, and it just carried on then from then until university. And every time I had a change, I just lost confidence in myself. Every time I didn't achieve what I wanted to achieve, I just put it down to me that I wasn't good enough.
And it's very interesting how you said you were a high achiever and then you were downhill, because mostly you'll find in lots of situations someone feels underachieved and they're gradually building themselves up. So I think that's a very interesting way around how that's happened. Fascinating. So what did anxiety feel like living with it on a daily basis?
Well, for anybody who doesn't know what anxiety really feels like, I can honestly say it's exhausting, because you're in a constant state of being on guard, being hypervigilant. So anything that happens, you stop doing things. You're so worried about making a mistake, doing things wrong. over-analysing. I mean, sometimes I'd really want to go out on a night out and I just wouldn't do it because it was just too much. Deciding what to wear, what are they going to think, just everything, all the questions, and it wasn't worth the effort, and my world just kind of shrunk and got smaller and smaller, and the biggest moment in that was when I became a mother, and I already had low self-confidence about that. I could see everything that I couldn't do, not what I could do, and I just thought everybody was better than me, they knew what they were doing, and I used to have panic attacks when I went out in public, and then my husband thought he was helping me, so there's some places he said, well, let's just not go, because he didn't like seeing me upset. But then again, my world, I didn't realise that what would have been better for me to do was to actually test myself and do that, but I just stopped. I stopped going to new places, and I just didn't trust myself really.
It's always quite interesting because when an individual is going through an issue like this in life, sometimes, it can be an isolating experience because sometimes you don't have a partner. But was your partner a wonderful rock in all this? Was he a good support system for you?
Well, that's the thing. He thought he was supporting me, and he was in his own way. But actually, he was enabling the anxiety to grow because he didn't like to see me suffer. So he thought, okay, so if we don't go to that place and we don't do this, then everything will be okay. So while he thought he was supportive, and he's absolutely supportive, but he didn't realise that what he was doing was actually making it worse.
And on a daily basis, is it just mentally draining? I mean, from the moment you wake up, you're lying in bed, you wake up, are you already thinking or overthinking? You are. Yeah, so but it's not even that. You'd wake up in the middle of the night and be thinking about it. I remember recently even singing at a karaoke, and I know that I've spoken to you earlier, and I sing on stage. And yet at this karaoke, I sang at this karaoke, and then I woke up in the middle of the night thinking, oh, that note, what could I have done differently? And it struck me. It struck me because it was so unusual, because it's so rare now. But that was constant, absolutely constant. And I always say that I went into performing later, not as a teenager. I was actually, to be honest, I was too scared to even audition when I was a teenager. But then I think I spent most of my life acting, because I've been putting on that mask and being the person that I thought I needed to be, to fit in or not to be rejected or whatever. So I have actually been acting a very long time. And talking of that mask, it was very interesting talking to you. You'd just gone into for hair and makeup, and you said, I'm not used to wearing makeup. No, what's that about? Well, why?
I spent many years feeling very uncomfortable being seen, and I think some of that is around low self-worth and low self-confidence, and I just used to hide away, just not wearing, whereas some people wear makeup for a mask, and I'm actually the opposite. I feel more exposed when I wear...
You're putting yourself in.
When I wear makeup, but yet when I'm on stage, then I'm playing a character, so I'm absolutely fine. So in my day-to-day life, I very rarely wear makeup at all.
Now, putting on makeup today, you've come on here, you're sharing your story. It's a very personal story, and you're sharing it with viewers who are watching, and you've applied makeup. Do you feel good? Do you feel comfortable?
I do now. When I was having my makeup done, I did get to a certain point where I was thinking this feels a little bit uncomfortable, and I also looked at myself in the mirror and thought, that doesn't look like me. And I'm going to get emotional now, because it doesn't look like the me that I felt like I was inside, because I never felt good looking. I always felt invisible, and I'm not invisible today.
Good.
And this is me speaking up for that person that I was, and also for anybody else who feels that way too.
Good. It's a lovely words to share with our viewers, and you never stop growing. Your inner growth is always there, your inner light's always there, but don't ever extinguish that. How do you keep yourself grounded when life gets overwhelming?
Well, we shared a bit of this story before because, as you know, I've gone through some health trauma. In particular, I've gone through bowel surgery and I've also gone through breast cancer. So during those times, I've learnt that when things are happening to you physically, I've learnt how to manage my own mindset. So initially, I started with things like meditation. I also use self-compassion exercises because I find that when you're going through a difficult time, sometimes if you speak to a friend, hopefully if they're a good friend, they'll in some way talk to you to comfort you, to make you feel better. But then sometimes you're the opposite to yourself and your own worst critic. So what I do now is I'm more gentle on myself. I just say, okay, you're feeling overwhelmed at the moment, you've got a lot on. What can you do? And even recently I had an occasion that came up and it was just, right, okay, so you have early night, then you'll have more sleep, good nutrition, going out for walks in nature, all that sort of thing. But most honestly, it's just being kind, thinking, okay, you're finding this difficult right now, and this may be because you've not done it before, if it reminds you of a previous situation, but also reminding yourself of everything I've been through and everything, for example, you've been through or our listeners have been through, and you survived, and reminding yourself of, although it's difficult, might be difficult and challenging for you right now, that you will get through it.
You're inspiring. You're absolutely inspiring. Was there a particular therapy, practice or mindset that made a difference for you?
Yes, there are two therapies that I personally use. So I use sound healing. I discovered sound healing, and that's sound healing with my voice, not with sound healing bowls. I discovered that 5 years ago, and I'm part of a sound healing group, and we practice twice a week. And that's one way of releasing emotions, and you don't even know what they are. You just might be feeling, I'm not feeling quite my usual self today, and it's just a way of releasing things like that on a regular basis. And the other thing, which I now, not just to practice myself, but I now am a coach and moving into that, is something called the Helix Method. I'm a Helix Method mentor. And for those, what I help people to do, and I've lived through myself, completely lived through myself, is I help people to release those energetic blocks, those roadblocks, because your life is, you don't realise necessarily that 95% of your life and your life decisions is running on your subconscious. And if you can unpick what's going on in your subconscious, everything that's happened, the beliefs that you've gained from what's happened, the emotions that you've held in your body from what's happened, if you can let all those go and not keep stacking them up, it just feels so much lighter and so much freer. So what I've done through the Helix Method is I've retrained my mindset and reinvented my identity.
And you do know I've got you sitting here next to me, and there's no way I'm going to let you go without hitting a bit of a note for me. Come on, I want a note. Come on.
I don't.
Put on the spot. Anyway, so the helpline for viewers, if you're feeling anxious or overwhelmed, you can visit Anxiety UK at www.anxietyuk.org.uk. They provide helplines, peer support and therapy options for anxiety and stress. Ali, thank you so much for sharing with us your journey through peace, compassion and harmony. Thank you so much.